Good afternoon. How is everybody doing? Welcome to Curated Legacies, episode 3. For those of you who may not know me, my name is RJ, and I help motivated investors take the money that they've earned and create more revenue. And my co host is Pryl.
Yes, hello, I'm Pryl, and full-time and part-time entrepreneurs turn to me when they are feeling overwhelmed, overworked, and headed towards burnout.
Wow, it sounds like a lot. It's
It's
so
my zone of genius. It's okay. It's not a lot to me.
Well, if you, like I said, we are on episode 3. If you missed last week or the week before that, I want to personally invite you to go back and listen to those conversations. And if you've gotten any value or if you have any questions, please feel free to leave it in the comments. And Pearl and I, we love to read them and we will respond to them. Now, if you missed last week's conversation, we talked all about understanding money management. I mean, money mindset, sorry. Now,
That too.
but understanding money mindset, right? And what is that? Money mindset is your unique beliefs and understanding and attitude towards money, right? And a lot of us, we feel uncomfortable talking about those subjects. Now, before we get started, I want to make sure I make it clear that Pearl and I, neither one of us are financial advisors. But we do suggest that you get connected with one that you resonate with, that can sit down with you and really iron out and talk about your money plans, right? But let me just also say this as we're wrapping up Financial Literacy Month, we want to leave you with some resources. You may know a thing or two here and there, but you can always pick up a tip or two to be able to figure out how tongue twisted. You can always pick up a tip or two to figure out how you can do things differently. But first, let me go into some alarming stats, right? So I looked up some studies and it said 78% of Americans, we live paycheck to paycheck. That's a lot, Fro. That's a lot.
Yeah.
It also said that 189 American population actually have credit cards. And out of that, each credit card owner owns 4 credit cards. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And right now, it's at a record all-time high with credit card debt of $1.4 trillion.
Zoinks, Uncle Scooby. That's a lot. Yeah.
Right. So, we need to do better. We got to be more of an informed consumer, right?
Yep.
Once you get financial literacy, there's so much benefits. You'll be able to make better financial decisions, whether that's you buying coffee, increasing your business equipment, buying rental properties, or even investing in a coach. You'll have less financial anxiety and stress, right? It will be alleviated. You will feel like a burden is lifted off of you if you get the financial literacy. And then the last thing is you can achieve and establish and really set some attainable financial goals. As I said with you last week, for me, no one sat down and really explained to me about credit and finances and money mindset. And if only I even understood as something as simple as credit utilization.
Yeah, it would have made a difference. Excuse me. So I mean, you made it. This is a perfect segue. Let's go ahead and let's talk about credit. As I mentioned, my parents didn't teach me about credit either. Like they said, like you pay for everything in cash and that's it, the end. So when I went off to college, my freshman year, and they were up there passing out credit cards like free samples up at Costco. Of course, I quickly ran them up, and I didn't have any money to pay those credit cards because I was a single mom and I was a college student. So, after a few months of dodging those collection calls, when I got my tax refund, I paid them off. And after that, like I feared credit. Like I shut it down. That was it. I didn't have any credit cards for over a decade. And when I went to buy a home, they looked at my credit report and it was like bare bones. They told me like, I don't have any revolving credit. I had to go and get some because sometimes, and I don't think that we say this enough, but sometimes having no credit can be worse than having bad credit,
Definitely.
Yeah.
You were thinking you were doing the right thing. I didn't have any credit. I stayed away from it. What did you call
Right.
those card plates? I forgot what you called them last week. Those
Charge plates.
right.
It's the devil.
So, You might
Yeah.
be thinking, if I could just stay away from those charge plates, I'll be good. Now it's
Yeah.
at my house. And then you were like, no,
Right.
you got to show them that you have some skin in the game, that you understand how to handle credit.
Yes. But again, going back to that, my parents not sharing with me, by them saying do everything cash only, it was an unknown. Like I feared the unknown. What I did, and there's so many of us, and that, I think that's almost, unfortunate, this is sad to say, but it's almost like an American rite of passage where you kind of ruin your credit and then learn the lessons after the fact, which is sad to say, because financial literacy, excuse me, financial literacy is not being taught enough. There's a lot of legislation kind of floating around in different curriculums with school districts and whatnot, but it's not mandatory to be taught. So it's something that we kind of, learn on the fly. And you mentioned, like there's a lot of resources out there
Mhm.
and that are available to us. Many times, we don't know about it till after the fact, but whenever I'm talking about anything about planning for finances or money, there is a resource that I love to share with my clients, and that is the FDIC's Money Smart Financial Education Program. And it's got about 15 or so modules, and there's several that are on credit. So reading your reports, understanding your credit scores, goes into the different types of credit, just some things like that. And then Money Smart, it also has, because it really is teaching you about, again, your financial health and having that healthy, balanced relationship with money. So there is a large focus of it on budgeting. So, some of the things like income and expenses and savings, borrowing, different types of debt. It even has a little part about when you're ready to buy a home. So it's a really, really good resource, one that I highly recommend. And the price is right, because it is free 99. It doesn't get any better than that.
Say $3.99.
Yeah, free 99. Okay.
Hey, I think I can afford that.
Right, exactly. The price is right. So, so again, this is the FDIC. So it's a federal program. They've got versions, like the standard kind of version is for adults, but they've got the young adults, like college age, and then they've got resources for children, versions of the program from pre-K, which just I love, all the way up through 12th grade.
So there's really no excuse why we can't tap into some of these resources, right? Because you once you start doing the research, there's tons of stuff out there, regardless of your age and what your level of understanding is. And you talked about you could use this to help you buy a house, but also when you have a business, you have to set budgets as well. When you have a business, a lot of times people are running it like a hobby, but you should run it like a business, meaning you should be looking at your P&L, which stands for profit and loss, which stands for, it looks at it basically tells a story about your business, right? It tells you about the income that's coming in and the expenses that are going out. And your common goal should always be to decrease your expenses while you increase your income. But yeah, I think a lot of people, they don't realize that you should have a budget for your business as well, if it's going to be sustainable and never mind, dare I say, profitable.
Yeah. Well, the budget is a bad B word for some people. Like, it's a scary word. It's loaded,
It
Yeah.
can be. But
Yeah.
you can't expect new results with old behavior. I think if you keep doing the same thing over and over and over, isn't that called insanity?
Yeah, there's a word for that.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just asking. But yeah, so but I'm glad that we're having conversations like this, that we can unpack and peel and maybe help some people tap into some of these resources that are out there.
Yeah, and let me, while we are on the subject of budgets, let me throw in, I have to do a friendly reminder. My plug, I'm always going to be plugging for you to make sure that your budget is not just fiscal. Like, make sure you budget in, and this can be time and also money, but consider some self-care in there, because as you know, I am a fan of taking sabbaticals. You know this.
I love it.
And I told you, like, I'm clear. I am transparent on it. I used to be team too much, both when I was in corporate and when I first became an entrepreneur, for many months after I became an entrepreneur. So you have to think about it this way. It's like, when you're at work and you're like, okay, I need to take, like a mental health day, like you need to take a day off. Okay, well, I took some mental health days. Well, and I took some months from my business, but that's another story. But but my personality, the way I'm wired, if it starts to become a lot of action, if it becomes too much, I can't do it. Like I have to leave it alone, and I walk away. And something else that I want to encourage and also plug is delegating whenever and wherever possible. Okay, so that's the bad D word to some people. We got the bad B word, which is budget, and the bad D word, because it brings up emotions. It makes people like bristle, like, oh, delegating, it starts to shine a light on our control issues, or maybe, our finances aren't tight and makes us feel some type of way. But, and I like to say this, that when you are delegating tasks in your business, that is the equivalent of like business self-care. Okay. So again, and I cannot say this enough, hear me when I say it. You do not need to do everything yourself. Like that is the absolute fastest way to burn out. This period. Okay. Yeah.
True. And it happens to you. It happens to you where it just creeps up on you. You don't even see it coming.
No, not at all. Because, okay, so you open the door. So let me, I'm on my soapbox now. Here's the thing. There are expectations that I think are, they're perceived expectations. And I love to say that a person's perception is their reality. Okay. So there's perceived perceptions that for whatever reason, we kind of heap on ourselves. And I think the more kind of little categories that you fit in, the more that you heap up on yourself. I know when I was in corporate, there were not a lot of people who look like me, if any, many times. And even being the only woman in a space. And, my talking about how our parents raised us, like they just always said, you're going to have to be smarter. You're going to have to be faster. You're going to have to be sharper, fill in the blank, to be able to achieve that success. And success to me really should be personal. Like when we start to view other people's perceptions of success and attribute that to ourselves, I say there's no scoreboard watching, and it happens. It's easier said than done.
It is.
We do it. But sometimes it's like, have you ever done something and you're like, oh, I don't need to be doing this, but you're committed, like you're in it.
Right. And when you're working in an office space, it's easy to get caught up with watching so-and-so getting all these achievements or this award, and they're doing this and they're doing that. But really, you don't know the breakdown that they have when they get home, right?
Right.
Oh, that's exhausting. It can be, so.
Yeah. That's why it's called the rat race. Like it's a competition. Races are a competition. And too many times, not all, but too many times, that competition it uses to kind of pit us against each other. I think it's maybe supposed to be healthy competition, but again, depending on how much you already have on your plate emotionally, you're going to view it through that lens, and it's just like, yet another thing that I have to do, and you just, again, the bar just moves and moves and moves, and you just keep trying to attain it, and before you know it, you're burned out, or you do like I did, run off and leave corporate, and you bring that with you to your business. Like many people, prior to the pandemic, and many of us, well, I've been working from home, even in corporate, I work from home primarily, but, it used to be that I talked to people about burnout as an entrepreneur, but I ended up getting clients talking with them about burnout that were still employees, because they're experiencing a lot of the same things. Where's the boundaries? There is no break room. The break room is your kitchen.
Right. Right.
There is no, let me get up
Because
and walk.
there's no, if there was no platform or a place for them to have as a sounding board to really articulate, what they were actually feeling to actually describe it. Because I know burnout is a term that's been thrown out there as of recent, right? It's not like it's been thrown out there. I mean, it's definitely been a feeling, but now we have a term for it. And I think that that's where a lot of people kind of pigeonhole themselves because they didn't have that place to sound it off.
No, and they, are working even more. You don't have those things to say, hey, we're getting ready to run out to lunch. Do you want anything? Like there's just certain things, indicators that you have in an office in a different culture that when you remove yourself from that, some people are able to self-regulate.
Mhm.
And God bless them. I'm not one of them. Like I'm like, if I don't care, like as long as I'm in my comfy chair, I'm zoning in. Like, so again, when you are working even more hours, and so now, okay, well, RJ is working 10 hours a day. All right, well, I need to work 11 hours. Well, the next person, well, hold on, RJ and Pryl are getting all this work done. So again, it that's why it's called the rat race, because it is a competition.
It's designed for that. Mhm.
Yeah, and it's like it's like a race, like a death race almost.
Right.
Okay, well, you know how I get. Let me hold on. Okay, I'm off my soapbox now. But yeah, that's again, we are not here to be preachy. This is really how we speak to each other and the
Right, off
conversations
times,
that
yeah.
we have. Yeah, and it's just really about awareness. Like just something to think about. Okay, anyway, so let me get back on task because I'm supposed to be a timekeeper, but you know how I do. If I get locked in on something.
No, but this is good. I think that, awareness is what's important. And a lot of times people, they're looking for someone to relate to what they're going through. So I think if anything, you just set someone free just with the idea of somebody can connect and relate with what they're going through.
Okay, good. Well, I'm all about getting delivered over here. Okay. All right. So let me ask you, how would you say that you rewrote your own money story?
Well, for me, okay, so I remember when I wanted to build out my rental portfolio. And I wasn't sure how to go about it. You guys heard my story. And if you didn't, go back and re listen to the previous episodes. But because I didn't have that blueprint, I wasn't sure how to go about it. And so as I started putting the pieces together based off of my knowledge, right, which is different from wisdom and experience, but based off of my knowledge, I realized that my real estate portfolio was a business. I looked at all of the little pieces and they were business components. I had to look at my P&L. I had to hire a team. I actually had to get some contractors. I mean, it was I had to do payroll. It was a business. And so what I ended up doing was I'm a big proponent of education. You'll hear me say that in any platform
Hmm.
that you hear me speak on because
Yeah.
it's the number one way to mitigate risk. It's by getting
Hmm.
education. So what I ended up doing was I got connected to my local chamber of commerce. And when I tell you they had a vast amount of resources, they gave me so much financial literacy of how to actually understand how to read a budget, right? My balance sheet, how to actually increase my revenue. That it was how to connect to the different people to help me with different advisors, financial advisors. So yeah, that's what I ended up doing. I ended up realizing I didn't have all the answers, even with my knowledge wasn't enough to take me from where I was at to where I wanted to be because I didn't want to have a hobby. This was a business.
Right.
So
Right. That's an expensive hobby.
exactly. And so I literally had to get some more education and TTP. I had to talk to people because I didn't even know the chamber was something until I started talking to other seasoned investors who kind of led me in that direction. So that's what I did. What about you?
Okay.
How did
Well,
you write your money story? Your
yeah, well, I mean, for the longest time, I didn't have a budget. For me, again, very binary. There, either I had enough money or I didn't have enough. Like, I'm pretty simple like that. But all jokes aside, like, I did not know, as you were talking about, like the P&L statement, having the budget. Like, part of that is knowing, how much you have coming in, how much you're going out, and I did not know that. And there was a lot that I didn't know, but what I did know was that before I jumped up and ran off and ran away from corporate, that I definitely, like, I had to switch some things up if I wanted my business to be successful.
Mhm.
And, because when you leave corporate, like there's not going to be those regular paychecks coming in. All
Mm-mm.
right.
You take a
Like,
sick day and
right.
still charge it against your time.
Right. No, Miss Ma'am. So, so, so what was consistent, even though the incoming paychecks was not consistent, the money going out is what was consistent, and even though, money was coming in, it was not with the same consistency,
Right.
especially as I was first starting out and building up my business. And, as you were saying about the expertise, like I get it. I maintain my lane. Like, my car will tell me if you like, no, I maintain my lane. I know what I'm good at.
Mhm.
I am crystal clear on, on what I love and what I enjoy.
Mhm.
So that's why I know that budgeting and finance, that is not
Our
my
thing.
thing.
Our
It's,
thing. It's not
it's
our thing.
no, it is not my ministry. So, and I knew that I needed to get some professional assistance. So I joined, they call her the budgetista, but her name is Tiffany Aliche, and she had a program, and I was in that for a little bit over 2 years. And then the second thing that I did was I got my first business coach, who, fun fact, inadvertently led me to realize that I had some like money blind spots going on. I had I had a money thing. And last week,
Oh, wait, you said your business coach
yeah,
identified this?
yeah, my first business coach, because I've had, you know, coaches need coaches. Like
Oh,
if you,
gotta be coachable.
yeah.
We have
Oh,
to be coachable.
hello. Okay, we'll table that. We'll talk about that maybe next week.
Right.
But yeah, so my very first business coach, um, she inadvertently like pointed out that I had like some money stuff going on. Like I had a thing about money. And as I was starting to say, like last week, I told that story about sitting at my table with that stack of, and I'm pointing over here because they were to the left of me. Like I'm a very visual, demonstrative person, but there was that stack of disconnect notices, but I had over $14,000 in my checking account. And I, went in to explain how I was truly afraid to pay bills. And that story, it's deeply personal, but I have zero problem. I don't have any problem sharing that if it really helps someone. Because what I don't want is for people, out there thinking that, okay, so, you get more money, now everything's automatically going to be good. No, because that is not it. There's going to be some, or there may be some trauma left over that you have to deal with. And I don't use that word trauma lightly. But these like extremely impactful negative money experiences, like they make an imprint, and they, they jump up on you on your back, and and they're gonna follow you and
And they
show
come
up.
back on you whenever you don't know
Right,
when it's gonna come.
right. They're gonna wave hello and pounce on you when you least
Hello.
expect it.
Right.
Yeah. So I educated myself and worked through those issues and those feelings, and worked extensively. I worked really hard to be able to reframe my relationship, my own personal relationship with money, so that I could again get to a place of balance. Like I'm all about balance. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's what I did.
Well, I wanna ask you this. I know, this is not scripted. I just really wanna know, for my own purpose, and maybe other people would wanna know this too. How did that make you feel when your coach was putting you out there? Like, what was your mind process when all of this was unfolding?
You sound like my therapist for a second. Look, so let me tell you, like I was insulted. Like my initial like kind of reaction, I was insulted, and like I wanted to, like buck up and say, look, don't play with me, like Cleveland tried to rise up, okay, but you got to press it down, all right, press it down, all right. But no, like she poked like a sore spot that I didn't even realize I had. You know, some of the things that like she would advise me to do or she would ask me about, it caused a visceral reaction. Like I would tense up. Like it made me uncomfortable. It lasted with me. And I'm like, why does this bother me so much? Like, why am I ticked off at this woman? You know?
Right.
But she's a good coach. And
Right.
that's what good coaches do. You know
That's
what I
what I
mean?
was
Like,
thinking. I'm like, honestly, that sounds
yeah.
like a coach who can see your blind spots and call you out on it.
Yeah, they challenge you. Like they challenge you to think, you know, when you, as you were mentioning earlier, like you peel it back and you just truly get all the way down to that why. But yeah, no, I was not a fan initially. Like, no. I mean, and this is like in passing. You know, I checked myself, like, oh, okay, hold on. Let's table it, like, let's listen. But when we would get off of our sessions, I'm just like, what is that? And she said, like, you know, what's going on? Like, what's your deal with money? And I'm like, excuse you, you know, with all due respect, but
Right.
you know, yeah,
Coachable pearls.
yeah. But again, that's what good coaches do. She was and is. She's no longer my coach, but she's still coaching, and she is an excellent coach. So that's a pro tip. Like if you don't feel like, mm, you know, with your coach at least once, then maybe they're not the right fit.
Mhm, mhm. And I would also add to that, like we just said a few minutes ago, I wouldn't want to work with somebody that's not coachable, and you were coachable in that moment.
Yeah, I mean, she could see it. Like my eyes, you know, I've been working on them, but like my eye, you know, they say
Can't
the eyes are the
you
windows to the
can't play
soul.
poker.
Like my eyes are like you, I can't even pretend. You'll see it in my eyes before anything. So of course she was in tune. Like, what is that? What are you thinking? Because my brain starts tick, 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 tick. And she would say, okay, where are you right now? What are you thinking about right now? Yeah. So again, like I said, it's a pro tip. You want to be coachable, but you want your coach to really get in there. Okay, as the official timekeeper, let me give this quick disclaimer. So if you have been hanging in with us, thank you so much. It is our goal to keep these under 30 minutes. And we're getting ready to wrap up. So we're going to go a teeny bit over during today's episode. But I just wanted to acknowledge that we definitely honor your time. So as we get ready to wrap up, RJ, what are some key takeaways and your food for thought, you know, for our viewers when it comes to rewriting their own money stories?
You definitely have to tap into your resources, right? You, like I said, the Chamber of Commerce, they're a great set of tools that they offer from, their advisors. And, Pryl, you gave a real good one earlier today that I want to make sure I put back on the screen. The FDIC, that one has a lot of resources based off of what you said, the different
Yeah.
modules I think you
Mhm.
were mentioning.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that you can make it a family affair as young as kindergarten, and regardless of your experience or your knowledge base, they have something for everybody.
Yeah. Okay. And then I would say, again, there is absolutely nothing wrong with bringing in some professional assistance. And like I said, maintain your lane. Okay. And you're going to hear me say this often, self-awareness is key. Look, do you see how when I get hyped, like I start leaning in and my hands come up, they stay in my lap.
You just come up and you lean in.
It's like my hands come out. Anyway, but
You're just
yes,
passionate, that's
yeah,
all.
I get so hype about it. But yes, self-awareness is key. So if you know that there's something that you could benefit from having someone else do, or come in and help you with it, like you mentioned, you had some contractors come in, then go ahead and let them do it. Do it. Show yourself and your business some self-care and go on and delegate. Like I will always be a proponent of delegating. All right. Yeah. So we didn't. Oh, look at this. I think we might make time. Yeah. Yeah. So
Before
thank
we
you.
wrap up, I want to say, Rosalind, we see you. I see your comments. Thank you so much for joining us. I just
Yay.
saw that. I want to miss out on that.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. We this is something that is kind of like a passion project and something for our own individual and collective development. So we are extremely just grateful that people are joining us, and our hope is, again, for people to get some value out of this, and just to know that they're not by themselves. Like, these are real conversations, and even if you don't want to have them with us, you can listen to ours and have them with other people. So yes, thank you for tuning in today as we got into rewriting our own money stories. And we would love for you to join us next week. We are going to be discussing growing pains when stepping outside of your comfort zone. Again, we're in here just poking into poking into some of them spots. And we also invite you to check out, this is our 3rd episode, so feel free to check out episodes 1 and 2. And again, please feel free to let us know if you've gotten any value from this so far. Like, we genuinely want to hear your thoughts. And finally, yeah, feel free to make this part of a larger conversation and share this out with others. RJ, any final thoughts?
No, this was great. I think it's important, whatever money story you have, you're not stuck with that. You can
Right.
always change it. And, that's the one thing that I also want to add as a takeaway. But this has been
Mhm.
great, and very therapeutic for me.
That's okay. Like, this is good. All right. Yeah. Well, thank you, everyone.
We'll see you next week.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.